This is an Audio Wool original.
This episode of Frightday is brought to you by Spring-Heeled Jack Coffee. You need great coffee. Jack delivers. Visit springhieldjack.coffee.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. If you'd like to support us, go to patreon.com/frightday.
My girls are getting a little too much enjoyment out of the trap scenes in both Home Alone and Home Alone 2.
Oh,
I think they're becoming masochists. No, wait, sadists. They make me rewind it and replay it when they get hit in the head with the bricks.
Well, when Sam's home, they don't even need to ask him to rewind it. Mm-hmm. He just does it.
Right, it's true.
It is Frightday. I'm your host, Byron. According to the CDC, children ages 8 to 10 spend around 6 hours a day in front of screens, and it only gets worse for 11 to 14-year-olds. Sure, cartoons, video games, and the dark web are fun, but if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that loneliness and isolation resides behind that glass. What manifests when we give into it? We'll get into it as we review Jacob Chase's Come Play. And August 4th, 1962, Hollywood superstar Norma Jean Mortensen, known to most as Marilyn Monroe, passed away under suspicious circumstances, a death that we'll be investigating all month. It's Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah, I know. It's going to be good.
Part 1, The Death and Her Life. In this week's edition of Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies, I'm joined tonight by Kelly.
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
And Sam can't make it because he's attendanting that parking lot.
Yeah, he's also doing an inventory of all of our screens right now.
Okay.
He actually watched the end with me.
Wow. That's a good part to watch. The monoliths. People going monolith crazy.
Curious sighting in a remote part of the country, a mysterious metal structure that offers a lot more questions than answers.
Seems a bit like a case of deja vu, a metallic monolith that appeared on a hill in Romania.
Another mysterious monolith has appeared, this time in our very own backyard in San Luis Obispo County.
We talked a little bit about it on the last episode of Behind the Screams. We talked a little bit about it before that.
Now you're going to talk about it some more?
A little bit, because we got a third one and a fourth one.
Hold on, where is it?
Kinda. And we also have some ideas of what's going on.
What is going on?
I don't know.
Speak to me.
Pine Mountain. We got a new 3-sided monolith. This one a lot heavier. It's saying it's something around 200 pounds.
How heavy was the last one?
Not. Because it's made of aluminum. It was junk. It was not a good monolith. You keep trying to sell it like it was this quality structure. It was riveted together and it fell apart very easily. It was garbage. But yeah, we got another 10-foot tall monolith. Within 24 hours, it vanished and was replaced with a wooden cross. Turns out a group of MAGA folks, people known as Groypers, fans of Nick Fuentes and his America First podcast. At some point, you can hang out, discord.frightday.com. I've got a channel there called Byron's Brain, where I talk about my right-wing extremist interests. The Groypers and Nick Fuentes are very, very dangerous and compelling figures. But yeah, they live streamed on, I think, the only streaming platform that allows them. It's like one of those knockoff ones, like Us Stream or something like D-Live. D-Live, that's right. Stream themselves knocking it over, shouting things like,
Christ is King! Christ is King! Christ is King! Christ is King!
It's like bolted down right here.
America first.
I just love the joining of those different phrases. It just doesn't make any sense.
They called it an alien obelisk and then called it gay.
Really?
Said Christ is king in this country. We don't want illegal aliens from Mexico or outer space.
Oh, really?
So let's tear this bitch down.
Okay, I don't like any. Oh God, I don't know that I've ever heard a sentence I hated so many parts of.
Yeah, awful. I believe the police are looking for them, even though I went to the guy's Twitter page. He's not hiding his identity, but I don't know. I'm unsure what's going on.
So in other words, they aren't really looking that hard?
I mean, I'm pretty good at my job, but I think that it would be pretty easy to track this person down. But yeah, we had that Romanian one that you wanted to talk a little bit about. It was on a plateau. It also disappeared very quickly. No one really knows why. I haven't dug too much into that disappearance because there's just so many that keep popping up. The mystery of the first monolith, the Utah monolith, is coming to an end as an artist collective has taken credit for it, whether or not that means anything. And I only say that because I'm suspicious. The leader of this collective, one of the founders, Matty Moe, he did an interview with Mashable.
Mm-hmm.
One of his most famous things that he's done was he once transformed the famous Hollywood sign. Ooh, Hollywood. We're going to be talking about that a little later.
We are. A lot, actually.
To read Hollyweed.
Started on a high note in Los Angeles after someone changed the famous Hollywood sign to read Hollyweed. Police say surveillance video shows a lone male suspect dressed all in black. The person could face misdemeanor charges if caught
by draping some banners on it. So
he's a 13-year-old?
Well, he appears to be older than 13, but he did post images of him potentially building the structure. But he goes on to say, I am not able to say much because of the legalities of the original installation. I can say we are well known for stunts of this nature. I really don't know. I haven't dug too deep into this, mostly because I'm annoyed that the guy who made the Hollyweed sign is now responsible for this beautiful piece of art.
I'm with you. That's
potentially.
Ugh.
Honestly, who knows? I am actually a bit sick of monoliths at this point.
Oh, I mean, I'll never be sick of monoliths, but yeah, I hear
I'm
what you
burnt
mean.
out. I'm done.
Okay. Fair.
On the Instagram of that artist collective, they had a link for monolith dash. Oh, no, it just popped back up.
Oh wait, what are you? What?
Monolith dash at dash a dash service.com, where they were. I believe it's gone now. Hey, excuse me. The website was down and now it's up again. They're basically offering construction and delivery of monoliths for $45,000, something like that. Apologies for Oliver squeaking his toy. I'm really sorry and embarrassed. This is his wild hours. He tends to get worked up.
So he thinks he's a cat? Because that's what cats do.
Well, cats usually do that later in the night, don't they?
No, like right before bed, which this is about that time.
Oh, you know, speaking of that time, it's time for staff picks.
They say so much, but they never tell you if it's any good.
Werewolf movie with E.T.'s mom in it.
The Howling, horror, straight ahead.
You're gonna kill me.
Oh no, why?
Do you want me to go first? I've done a lot of talking. Why don't you take the wheel here?
Well, okay, I mean, I'm fine to go first. I just want to get a little bit of clarification from you. What are the parameters by which I am supposed to, as a staff member, make a pick?
Well, do you understand the concept of this segment?
It's like in the video store when they make staff picks, but you get mad at me if they're not, like, esoteric enough.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm going to take us a couple different places in this audio video store of ours.
Wait, what does that even mean?
Well, it's an audio version of a video store.
What?
That's the whole concept, is people come into our
Yeah, no, a couple different places. What do you mean by a couple different places?
Well, not behind the curtain, not in the adult section, for sure.
Oh, God, what?
There was a joke about the porno section of a video store. That's not where we're going.
Oh, God.
I'm going to start with an HBO limited event series, because I remember when I worked at a video store, this was like the beginning when they were releasing DVD box sets, and you would actually have to rent individual discs of like a 4-disc season of a show.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I'd like to talk about a new series called The Undoing.
Tonight, the gruesome discovery of a mother bludgeoned to death.
Nobody seems to really know anything.
What are the police making of it?
Mom, you're acting strange.
Detective Jeffrey Mendoza, NYPD.
We are investigating a crime. So if you know something, tell us what it is.
You either read me my rights right now, or tell me I'm free to go.
Why were you there that night?
I was walking.
It's just such a coincidence, isn't it?
You are going to believe in things you shouldn't.
I wanted this to be caught.
Whatever you've heard, it's worse than you think.
My mother was talking about this.
I'm not surprised. It's a bit of a mother show. It's from writer David E. Kelly.
Love.
Big Little Lies. And director Suzanne Beyer, who did Bird Box and The Night Manager.
Okay, so it's golden.
Yeah. It focuses on Nicole Kidman's character, Grace Fraser, who's a successful therapist, and her devoted husband, Jonathan, played by Hugh Grant, and their son, who attends an elite private school in New York City. A chasm opens in Grace's seemingly perfect life. A violent death, a missing spouse, and a chain of terrible revelations. It's a bit of a Gone Girl, but I love seeing Hugh Grant in a different kind of role. I mean, he's just as charming, but there's something behind the eyes, you know? He's taken a bit of a Bateman turn. A little late in his career, but I'll allow it. And I mean, Kidman's always great. The kid, Noah Jupe. Does that name sound familiar to you?
No, it doesn't. Well, but you're going to tell me why it should.
Yeah. He was in Ford v Ferrari, as well as Honey Boy. But before that...
Hold on, what did he play in Honey Boy?
I don't know. One of the versions of what's his name, probably.
What was he in before that?
A Quiet Place.
Oh,
you didn't watch it, so it means nothing to you because of the...
No, but that's okay.
He's a great guy. I was at the premiere of A Quiet Place. Very charming kid during the Q&A. But yeah, this is it's a fun little series. It's full of twists and turns. Yeah, I mean, fans of any of those Gone Girly kind of mysteries, plus a little bit of violence. HBO has been doing a great job. I should mention real quick, very excited for that new Bryan Cranston limited event series on Showtime.
Oh, looks so good.
What is it called? It's like the judge.
I know, but it's about a judge that gets his son off of, helps his son cover up a murder.
Yeah, it's called Your Honor. It looks great. Was that a huge chip you just bit into? It seems like you're chewing a chip currently.
No.
I will talk while you do that, because going to another part of this video store.
Wait, you're going to just move right into that? You're not going to let me do mine?
This is just a quick one. I'm a freaking gamer, Kelly.
Okay, that's weird, but go ahead.
I'm a gamer now. We got a gaming PC for Frightday, and we got twitch.tv/Frightday. I've been practicing up so I don't embarrass myself too much when I finally do stream.
You and your fucking appearances, man.
They're vicious over there. They're very kind. Our listeners are, but... yeah, I've been playing a game called The Forest, which is a survival video game that takes place in a remote, heavily forested peninsula after your freaking plane crashes, and when you wake up, cannibals are carrying your son Timmy off. So you crawl out of the plane and you collect sticks and rocks and logs, build stuff, and you just try not to get killed by cannibals. You gotta hunt, you gotta find water, you gotta find your son. So far, not good at that. I'm just trying to stay alive.
Okay.
Great game. I'm having a good time. And apparently there's a sequel called Sons of the Forest under development. I didn't know that. I just started this one. But I hope you guys hang out with me there. Twitch.tv/Frightday.
Is it my turn yet?
Yeah, which part of the audio video store are you going to?
I don't know what part this would be in. Maybe horror, thriller, drama. Could be in any of those, really. But it's funny because it does connect to The Undoing.
Oh, okay.
Very inadvertently. So because it's December, I'm obviously going to be selecting at least tangentially related Christmas movies for the month.
Of course.
Eyes Wide Shut.
That's not horror.
Oh, yes, it is. I so disagree with you.
Well, are we going to talk about Stanley Kubrick's treatment of Tom Cruise? And excuse me.
It's okay, Oliver. Your father had an option for a babysitter and he declined.
Stanley Kubrick's treatment of Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise?
Yeah, I mean, he was really mean to them. I mean, more mean to Cruise than to Kidman, it sounds like. But
yeah,
it is a horror. It's terrifying on a bunch of different levels. It's terrifying because it's like this weird cult, this elite cult, right? We've got like the weird Illuminati thing going on. We've also got the horrors of an unraveling relationship.
Sure, relationship horror.
Yeah, those two, the combo is really good. And it takes place at Christmas time, which is deeply unsettling to me because there's nothing happy about this movie. It's very creepy and weird and unsettling and bothersome and lots of things that don't make a lot of sense and that you're supposed to understand. And every time I watch it, I get something else out of it.
Okay, I've never seen it.
Wait, what?
Never seen it.
Really?
Well, I'll get to it. Last film by Stanley Kubrick, huh?
It was, and it's based on a 1926 German book. Maybe Viennese. It was from Austria or Germany.
Wow.
Hold on, I'm going to pull it up just to make sure.
You might want to get that.
Yep, it was from Vienna. I was right. So it's Austrian, but it was from the 20s, and obviously Kubrick updated it to be modern times in New York. It's just super creepy.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think Tom Cruise is a good actor.
Oh, I think he's too.
Even though, I mean, we did dedicate an entire episode to bringing him down.
We did. Also, this is pretty great. The author of the original book, his name was Schnitzler. Like Schnitzel,
All right.
but Schnitzler.
Episode 1.
That's amazing.
173, where we covered Our House and Tom Cruise. That was part of our Scientology series. That was a lot of fun.
And it is categorized as an erotic mystery psychological drama.
I've heard it's a very horny film. Yeah. So
It is, but it's very weird and creepy, relationship uncomfortable. It reminds me, and this happens a lot with Kubrick movies, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, but Kubrick movies really capture the tone of weird, creepy dreams that I have. Maybe that's because I've watched too many Kubrick movies and watched them during my formative years, or maybe it's because Kubrick is capturing some deep, elemental, dreamlike state that some of us have, but it's a really good movie.
I mean, you're a huge Kubrick fan. I'm not surprised. And you guys, you're going to have to get something or get out, okay? This is where I kick everyone out.
Oh, right. That's where, right. Because they're in. Yep. Okay. Okay.
And,
I've got some doozies coming up. I really don't want to spoil too much, but like staff picks coming down the river for the rest of this month. Everybody may want to do a little bit of advanced checkout of whoever slew Auntie Roo. Really excited to talk about that
I don't know what that is, but...
oh, it's going to be good.
You know, Kelly...
What?
I've always been more of an Audrey Hepburn kind of person.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm more of a Maureen O'Hara kind of lady.
All right. In this week's edition of Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies.
Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies.
You don't like Maureen O'Hara?
I don't know who that one is.
Oh, she was glorious. Redhead. Real good actress.
I don't know. You gotta quit with the chips. Is this an intermission chip?
I got a question for you.
What's that?
Of all the kinds of Hershey Kisses that they have these days...
Okay, I was hoping we would roll into the segment.
What's your favorite?
The cordial cherry ones.
That's funny. You want to know a hilarious story?
No, I don't.
That's
I want to
the
talk
only
about
one my husband won't eat.
I think they're great. Give them to me.
I will. Okay. Now that that's settled. Death report of Marilyn Monroe, Los Angeles Police Department. Marilyn Monroe on August 4th, 1962, retired to her bedroom at about 8 o'clock in the evening. Mrs. Eunice Murray of 933 Ocean Avenue, Santa Monica, California, 3957752 CR 61890, noted a light in Miss Monroe's bedroom. Put a pin in that detail.
Okay.
Mrs. Murray was not able to arouse Miss Monroe when she went to the door, and when she tried the door again at 3:30 a.m., when she noted the light still on, she found it to be locked. Thereupon, Mrs. Murray observed Miss Monroe through the bedroom window and found her lying on her stomach in the bed, and the appearance seemed unnatural.
Stomach sleeper, huh?
Nobody actually does that, do they?
I don't know.
Ugh. Mrs. Murray then called Miss Monroe's psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph R. Greenson, of 436 North Roxbury Drive, Beverly Hills, California, CR 14050. I don't know what the fuck a CR is, but here we go.
CR.
Upon entering after breaking the bedroom window, he found Miss Monroe possibly dead. Then he telephoned Dr. Hyman Engelberg of 9730 Wilshire Boulevard, also of Beverly Hills, CR 54366, who came over and then pronounced Miss Monroe dead at 3:35 a.m. Miss Monroe was seen by Dr. Greenson on August 4, 1962 at 5:15 p.m. at her request because she was not able to sleep. Put a pin in that.
Mm-hmm.
She was being treated by him for about a year. She was nude when Dr. Greenson found her dead, with the telephone receiver in one hand and lying on her stomach. The police department was called, and when they arrived, they found Miss Monroe in the condition described above, except for the telephone, which was removed by Dr. Greenson.
Because of that annoying dial tone that was...
Apparently. There were found to be 15 bottles of medication on the night table, and some were prescription. A bottle marked 1.5 grains Nembutal, prescription 20853, and prescribed by Dr. Engelberg, and referring to this particular bottle, Dr. Engelberg made the statement that he prescribed a refill for this about 2 days ago, and he further said there probably should have been about 50 capsules at the time this was refilled by the pharmacist. Dr. Greenson received a telephone call from Mrs. Eunice Murray, who is the reporting person, at 3:30 a.m. on 8/5/62, wherein she stated she was unable to get into Miss Monroe's bedroom and also that the light was on. He instructed her to pound on the door and look again through the bedroom window, after which she should call him again. Mrs. Murray called back at 3:35 a.m., said that Miss Monroe was lying on the bed with the telephone in her hand and that she looked strange. Having dressed by this time, Dr. Greenson left his home to go to the residence of the deceased, which is about 1 mile away. Dr. Greenson also told Mrs. Murray to call Dr. Engelberg. It was about 3:40 a.m. when Dr. Greenson arrived at the home of the deceased. He broke the window pane and entered the home through the window, and then recovered the telephone from the deceased's hands. Rigor mortis had set in. Dr. Engelberg arrived at 3:50 a.m. and pronounced Miss Monroe dead. The two doctors above named talked for a few minutes. It is the belief of both of them that it was about 4 a.m. when Dr. Engelberg telephoned the police department. A check with the complaint board at the WLA desk indicates that a telephone call was received by the police department at 4:25 a.m. Miss Monroe's telephone, which is GR 61890, had been checked, and it was found that no toll calls were made during the hours of this occurrence. The telephone number of 472-4830 is being checked at the present time.
Put a pin in that.
Mm-hmm. This is the official death report from the LA Police Department of one Marilyn Monroe, also known as Norma Jean Mortensen, also known as Norma Jean Baker, quite possibly the most famous actress of all time.
She's the first blonde bombshell.
Well, she actually isn't. Mae West was the first blonde bombshell, but I'm sure you have no idea who that even is, Byron.
Of course not.
Yeah, she's from like the 20s, Byron, so just whatever. It's fine.
Well, they couldn't even tell because everything was black and white.
Guess what? Most of Marilyn's movies were black and white, too.
Listen.
Fuck, man. Marilyn Monroe is an interesting story, and her death, for some reason we haven't covered yet, and I was actually investigating in my own brain why this may have fallen off our radar for so long. And I think the fact of the matter is
that I just did such a great job with the Black Dahlia two-parter, and you were intimidated.
No, I was actually going to tie it to the Black Dahlia. When it comes to like this era of Hollywood, death, and the treatment of women, it bothers me a lot to start digging in. And so Black Dahlia, I really tried to dodge the edges of, let Byron really do the dirty work there.
Yeah, now I'm over here being like, did I do a good job with the Black Dahlia?
You did a great job. But Marilyn, once you really look under the surface, everything about Marilyn Monroe, basically everything, is just unbearably sad and tragic. And it's a real downer to go through.
But it's good stuff. It's good stuff to bring to light, though.
It is good stuff to bring to light, and it's very important. It's one of those things where there are a lot of people involved in her life that are still regarded in a pretty heroic light who did some real bad things to her.
Most men were bad back then, though.
I was trying to have a very surface level discussion about this with Creature the other day because she heard me talking to Sam about doing this research, and actually we were listening to Christmas music and a Frank Sinatra song came on.
Oh.
And I said something to Sam about how, gosh, I really wish I didn't know what I know about what a bad person he was in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then of course Creature, but he learned how to be good, right? But he learned his lessons, right?
He had some sort of like Ebenezer Scrooge kind of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of who knows? I mean, the thing about most of the stuff regarding Marilyn, we have some interesting points of fact that we can tie to. A lot of it is eyewitness reports, hearsay, rumor mill, but there's enough out there. I do think it's fairly safe to say at this point, no surprise to our listeners, while the official story is that she overdosed, accidentally or on purpose, as a suicide, I do not believe that that is the case. I'm not 100% certain. I'm also not 100% done with my research because this is a doozy, Byron, but I'm almost 100% certain there were multiple people involved in her death, much like
Kennedy. We got another Kennedy?
Well, we got another Kennedy, and the Kennedys are in this.
Well, yeah.
We've got Kennedys, we've got movie stars, we've got CIA, we've got communists, mobsters, really the makings of every kind of, like, the fractured web on this. I started on a whiteboard. I tried to start drawing out all the characters and how it's insane. I'm going to need a bigger whiteboard. I got to paint one of my walls. But I do want to say, before we get into any more details, Byron, Marilyn gets a bad rap, and I want one of the biggest messages that comes through in this report to be the following. Marilyn is known as a ditz. Marilyn is known as a dumb blonde. She's in many ways one of the people that phrase was formed over. I will tell you that based on what I have seen thus far, she definitely wasn't. She was a very bright woman. She was a very troubled woman. She had an incredibly tragic life. Her 36 years were filled with a lot more pain than most people have in a full life. While there will be scandalous portions of this report, we do need to keep in mind this was a woman. This was a real human being. She had real feelings, and those feelings were treated with a lot of disrespect at many points in her life. I'm going to do my best to be respectful in this report. So without further ado, let's get down to her childhood. Well, you see, by the time Marilyn was born, her mother Gladys had actually already had 2 children, been married, divorced, and married again.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Divorced in the 40s?
It's
30s.
A lot thicker than that. It's actually in the 20s. Gladys married her first husband when she was 14. And he was, I've seen reports 24, 25, and 26. So he was somewhere between 10 and 12 years older than her, and she was 14.
Not good.
She had her first child at 15. She had another child 2 years later at 17. 4 years after that, she successfully filed for divorce and won sole custody of her 2 children. Unfortunately, her husband, now ex-husband, made a run for it and kidnapped the 2 children and moved back to Kentucky. Her 2 children, Robert and Bernice, were gone at that point. And in fact, Marilyn didn't even know that she had siblings until she was about 12 years old. And by that time, Robert had passed and it was only Bernice. And I believe Bernice lived well into either the 90s or may have even made it in past 2000. But she was around for a long time. But Gladys kind of bounced back, remarried a gentleman with the last name Mortensen. However, they split up less than a year, but definitely closer to a few months after getting married. And the period of time during which Marilyn was conceived was after that separation. I've seen people say online that means for sure he couldn't have been the father. Well, everybody knows, especially with already a very complicated romantic situation, as seems to be the case with her mother, they certainly could have had relations after being separated. But it's more likely, and based on a lot of stories from later in Marilyn's life, that her real father was a gentleman who was her mother's boss, and his name was Charles Stanley Gifford. At the time Marilyn was born, her mother was working at Consolidated Film Industries. She was a film cutter.
I mean, they were busy back then, snipping film all day.
All day. Seems like such a weird job, but yes. She did see this gentleman every day, and the timing would have been right. There is a rumor that Mr. Gifford left his wife for Gladys, and then on New Year's Eve, turning the clock over into 1926, Gladys said she was pregnant with Marilyn. He said, "Peace out, biznatch, no thanks," and ran away.
Yeah, married someone else, Mary Bell Sewell.
Yes, there's an interesting story, and who knows what truth there is or isn't to this story, but I do like the story. It's a fun one. Apparently, Marilyn, a couple of points in her life, believed that this was her actual father and actually told her first husband, James Doherty, Gifford was her father. She tried to visit him a couple of times. The first time was in 1945 when she was 19. Called and said, "I'm Norma Jean, I'm Gladys's daughter." He hung up. 6 years later, she found him through a private investigator and went to a place near Palm Springs where he supposedly lived. She drove there with her acting coach at the time for some support, but then she kind of got scared and pulled over, called him from a payphone. And the story goes that his wife answered and said, "He doesn't want to see you. He suggests you see his lawyer in Los Angeles if you have some complaint. Do you have a pencil?"
I don't like that. That's a regular Arthur Fleck.
Yeah.
Oof.
Pretty bad. And then, 1961, 10 years after she kind of hit it big, and this was just a little over a year before she passed away, Gifford sent her a card, which supposedly said, "Best wishes for your early recovery." This was when she broke something. She was in the hospital for some reason. "Best wishes for your early recovery from the man you tried to see nearly 10 years ago. God forgive me." Well, he clearly doesn't mean God forgive me. He means give me some money. Sorry, I was an asshole. You're rich. Give me some money. Marilyn apparently got the card, but told her friend that it was too late. She had no interest in a relationship at that point. In 1962, just a few months before Marilyn died, apparently Gifford had a heart attack and he thought he was dying. So he was in the hospital. He made one last call to Marilyn, and Marilyn's nurse picked up, explained to Marilyn the situation. Marilyn said, "Tell the gentleman I've never met him, but if he has anything specific to tell me, he can contact my lawyer. Would you like his number?"
Oh,
I know.
Karma's
This is what I mean.
frickin-
Like, who knows if that's an urban legend or a true story? But this woman, that's just one example of the struggle she had with men throughout her life. In her early childhood, she lived with another family because her mother was very, very poor, was struggling to keep afloat, and also had some pretty significant mental health challenges.
Well, who wouldn't after such an awful start?
Pretty bad. Pretty bad. And in fact, she was, I don't even know what the phrase was. She had a breakdown at one point and spent some time in a rest home, but then ended up in a mental hospital. This was when Marilyn was like 8 years old or something. And after that point, Marilyn saw very, very little of her mom, like for the rest of her life. It was determined she had schizophrenia. Marilyn ended up living with a family that they were friends with, and then also ended up moving on and living with her mother's friend, Grace. But at least once, and most likely multiple times over these years, between the ages of 8 and 11, she was molested by...
Oh, come on.
Yeah, by her mother's best friend's husband. Ugh. And also possibly by a boarder, even at one of the houses she was staying with her mother before her mother was committed. She was sexually assaulted at a very young age. Combine that with the incredible struggle to find any kind of father figure. It was very, very, very rough for her.
The only positive example of a boarding house I've seen is in Hey Arnold.
Is Hey Arnold a boarding house? I didn't know that.
I think it's a boarding house, right?
That's amazing. I love Hey Arnold.
He lives there, yeah. He's in a boarding house. Lives there with his grandpa and grandma.
That is so cool.
But this boarding house full of adult pedophile rapists.
Right. Well, this is very bad. Yeah. She ended up living in 11 different foster homes. She was in an orphanage at one point, and oddly enough, it sounds like that was probably one of the nicer situations she was in.
Then suddenly I was taken to the orphan's home. I was only 9 or 10. And I put my feet down on the sidewalk, and they had to drag me in. I said, "I'm not an orphan."
Oh, come on.
I used to sit up in the window and cry because I'd look over and I'd see RKO, and I knew my mother had worked there and she'd been a cutter there, and all the kids were asleep.
There are a couple interviews that I've heard with her where she talks about going to a public high school and how horrible it was, because if you go to a public high school and you're in a children's home or an orphanage, everybody knows you as like, oh, that's the kid from the home. And the horrible, ugly clothes she had to wear because there was no money to get her clothes. And so you can see how her deep-seated need to feel loved and belong, which is pretty human in any measure, with her background, became really the driving force for a lot of what she did in her adult life.
Well, yeah, it can be intoxicating if you've had that withheld from you for your entire life.
Yeah. And she also got married when she was 16. She wanted to move with the family that she had been adopted by, even though the male in this family had molested her. She wanted to move with that family because she didn't want to have to go back to the orphanage. And child protection laws prevented them from taking her out of state. So she decided to marry their neighbor's son, a guy named James Doherty, just so she would have permission and ability to not go back to the orphanage. She said she couldn't stand to do that.
And tell me this, did James molest her too? Or are we...
So I have in some reports read that he was abusive.
Well, I was being sarcastic, hoping he was a good guy, and that is just another disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, she talked more about being bored in their marriage.
Okay.
Wanting to do something else with her life. So at this point, he became a merchant marine and they moved to Santa Catalina Island right before she started taking her life in a completely different direction. You would say when she got lucky and she started moving towards a life of fame and fortune. And honestly, though it did not end well for her with the path that she had been on before, I'm not sure that there was much happiness down that road either. Marilyn's life was incredibly, incredibly tragic. This factory worker, James Doherty, with whom she was already really bored, he joined the Merchant Marines. They moved near the Pacific Ocean, and they were going to be there for about 2 years while he was in the Merchant Marines. She actually ended up moving in with his parents and started working at the radio plane company where they were doing work on...
Planes?
No.
Radios. Wait, what?
Radio plane company, munitions. All sorts of munitions. In late that year, she met a photographer who actually had been sent by the U.S. Army Air Force's First Motion Picture Unit. So I'm sure you guys have seen propaganda / morale boosting films. You think about like Bob Hope doing tours for the troops, and there was a lot of effort put into keeping those fellas happy. And good looking, half naked women were one of those things. So this gentleman, David Conover, came to take pictures, and even though none of her pictures got used, she decided that maybe this was a better way for her to make a living. Now, of course, think about her background. This woman is now being offered money to take photos, and people tell her how beautiful she is. Clearly, that's going to be more attractive to her than working in a factory. So she quit the factory.
I'm sure Rosie the Riveter felt pretty good about what she was doing, right?
I doubt Rosie the Riveter was actually riveting anything.
You think she was just a model like Marilyn
Yes,
Monroe?
Of course. So then she started modeling for Conover and some of his friends. Her husband obviously was not super excited about this, but he was deployed. So she did her own thing. She signed a contract with a model agency. Then she started using the name every once in a while, Jean Norman. So her name obviously at this point was Norma Jean Doherty, but Jean Norman was a good pseudonym. She had brown hair. Her blonde hair was not natural, but at this point she still had brown hair.
Whoa! You can't just drop a bombshell like that.
Well, everybody knows that. Look at that.
I didn't know
the color
that.
of her hair was that's not nobody's hair is actually that color.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, she was definitely brunette. She started straightening it because she had curly brunette hair. She started straightening it, and then she dyed it blonde because people did seem to like blondes.
Well, they have more fun.
Well, do you know that's one of her quotes, I think?
I think it probably is. My grandma says it all the time.
Yeah. I don't. I'm not blonde. So she was curvaceous. She certainly was not big. It's funny, you'll hear weird quotes about how she was like a size 16 or something. If that's the case, it's because sizes were completely different. On her death certificate, she weighed 117 pounds. She was not big.
No, not even a little.
No. So all of that should be thrown by the wayside, by the way. But she was more of a pinup looking woman than a traditional housewife model fashion. She started ending up in a lot of gentlemen's magazines. She actually had appeared on 33 magazine covers in less than a year. She made headway pretty quickly there. She was good looking. And this is when she signed a contract with another modeling agency after having that kind of success. She had an interview with Paramount Pictures at this time. It was unsuccessful, but she did have a screen test with a gentleman named Ben Lyon, and he was an executive at 20th Century Fox. This was the guy that ultimately suggested she change her name to Marilyn Monroe. The Monroe part is her mother's maiden name, and the Marilyn part, I think, Byron, you were saying, came from a Broadway star of the time?
Yeah, it was just the first name of a Broadway star that he liked. He's like, that's a good name, and I think it reminded him of her as well.
Okay. September of 1946, she filed for divorce because Doherty was not down with her having a career.
Snooze, too. Just a frickin' dork and loser.
Right. And so they were married just a little over 4 years. And she had been out in...
Well, this never was even a marriage of love, though, right? This was the convenience
No.
marriage.
It was literally a marriage to keep from going back to the orphanage.
Not a big deal.
Yep. She worked her butt off, though. you know, I don't know, you hear many stories about people having immediate success when they hit Hollywood. She knows that there's potential and she's been encouraged by some people, but she's not getting any roles. So she just worked her ass off. She acted and sang and danced. She took lessons all day, almost every day, worked really, really hard. Finally, she was able to get a couple of film roles, just small parts, but that's when things started to take off. This was in the late 1940s. First small part was in Dangerous Years in 1947.
Dangerous Years, where she played Evie, the waitress at the Gopher Hole.
Hi, Evie.
Hi, small change.
Hey, wait, I got money tonight. Am I going to see you later?
I'm not too tired.
But Evie, I thought we had a date.
Look, this tray weighs a ton.
Come on, Gene, let's not keep Danny waiting. Let's go.
And from there, things started getting quite a bit crazier. When we come back for part 2 of Marilyn, we are going to discuss her early years in Hollywood, the men with whom she had the most significant relationships, and specifically from that group, the ones who may or may not have ultimately had a hand in her death. There were a lot of men, and there were a lot of not so great men. So the list of suspects, if this was a Columbo case,
oh no,
boy oh boy, be like a 27-parter with all the people he'd have to go talk to.
Hopefully it won't be that.
Well, it could be.
Kelly,
here's the thing. Wait. Before we go, I want to tell everybody there's this really great public domain document out there. It's called The Strange Death of Marilyn Monroe. It's written by Frank A. Capel. You can pull it up. It's like 80 some pages. And first of all, it's got really funny language in it because this guy was like a super anti-communist. So he's talking about communist conspiracies in this a lot. And there are some less tangible theories about the communists being involved in her death. But
weird. I haven't heard anything about communists for so long.
Or possibly the anti-communists as well, which is another theory. But there is a lot of really interesting information in here, including photographs and invoices from the days leading up to her death. We are going to be referencing this document quite a bit in the coming episodes. So if you want to have it handy on your screen, go ahead and get it because it's a pretty cool doc.
It'll be in the show notes this episode of Frightday.com.
Yeah.
Kelly, thank you so much for that report.
You're welcome. Poor Marilyn.
Yeah.
Poor Marilyn. Play Candle in the Wind tonight once, okay? Byron, are you going to play that? Can you play that for this whole, for this series? Will you play it for the opening?
I'm sure I could come up with something more interesting than playing the same thing, and please don't eat chips into the mic.
Well,
Just
you could
please.
do the Elton John version once, then you could do the version where Elton John did it with George Michael.
It's fine. I don't think that's a good idea, but Kelly, I need you to not eat chips right now. I need you to not do that. Are you done?
Yes.
All right. Oh, wow. Sad. Marilyn,
Super sad.
Did you just sneak another chip?
No?
I thought I heard you sneak a chip.
You're full of shit.
Put them away.
So now that we're done talking about sexually abused actresses, we're going to talk about terrorized autistic children.
I guess we could do that as we review Come Play.
We hope you're enjoying your visit here this evening. Now, on with the show.
Great. Good stuff. Come Play is a 2020 American horror thriller film written and directed by Jacob Chase. It stars Gillian Jacobs, John Gallagher Jr., and Ashy?
Ozzy?
That could be. Ozzy Robertson. Parents fight to save their son when a mysterious creature uses his electronic devices to break into their world. Jacob Chase, born July 1st, 1986 in Panorama City, California. You know, I struggled to find any information really about him, his formal education, but I do know his favorite film as a child, Kelly.
Was?
Con Air. One of my favorites.
It is one of your favorites this much, I know.
This guy already on my good side. He directed and edited a handful of shorts. His first feature was a rom-com drama called The Four-Faced Liar, which played a handful of festivals. I believe it premiered at Slam Dance in 2010. He did a couple more shorts, while at the same time he was the creative director at a haunted house in Los Angeles.
Really? Which one? Is it one you're familiar with? Because I know you're pretty into those.
It's not, but it did look significant. 2016, he won a Doritos Super Bowl commercial contest with his commercial Doritos Dogs, which is 3 dogs outside of a grocery store trying to get in, but the manager doesn't let them in because there's a no dogs allowed policy. They try several things, and then they get an idea when a man in a fedora walks by. They do the old trench coat on top of each other's shoulders with sunglasses and a hat trick, and they successfully purchase Doritos. It's pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, which actually led to a mentorship with Zack Snyder while he was shooting Justice League, which is pretty wild. Learned a lot from Zack. He sold a musical show called Harmony to ABC, which I don't believe has been made yet. Right before that, he shot the short for Larry, which blew up.
Must have been the
predecessor to this film. And that came out of him being too busy to work at the haunted house. He wanted to make something that would still give people that seasonal scare. Yeah, and very, very successful with that.
Okay, how successful can you be with a short, though? Like, explain that to me.
Well, I mean, they make the rounds. Sometimes you could be like a Vimeo staff pick. Speaking of staff picks, you could go viral on YouTube. I don't recall which route this short took, but I know that it was very popular. Yeah, I think he did very well with this short. Well enough that he was able to make a full-length version, which was announced October of 2018. In September, it was announced that Gillian Jacobs and Ozzy Robertson were in the cast, and a month later, John Gallagher Jr.
I do love him.
I know you do. Theatrically, it was released October 30th, 2020, after being bumped from its original July 24th date due to, guess what, COVID-19. The budget...
Humdinger.
Guess. What's the budget, you think? You're not the one to ask this. That would be a Sam question.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'll let you guess. What you got? It's in the millions.
$3.5 million.
$9 million.
Hey, I wasn't that far off.
Box office, that's a lot of millions, Kelly. I don't want you to manage our money.
I know. That's okay.
Box office, though, it made, I think, a little over 3 the first weekend, which put it #1 film in America. Right now, it's at 10.9 million, so it technically made its budget back, but apparently the studio spent, quote, in the high single-digit million range promoting the film. So
wait, so they spent as much promoting it as they did making it?
As they did to make it. And
why would they spend that much promoting it when it's not even... when we can't make money in theaters right now? That is...
I don't know what they were doing, especially, I mean, it's not like, I like this guy.
You haven't even named the most important actor that's in this movie yet.
We haven't named any of the actors yet, really. Jacob Chase, I like him. Just not an established name, really. A lot of shorts under his belt, a couple successful indies. I don't know why the studio put so much money into promoting the film. It's very strange. You were absolutely right. Do you want to talk about the actor in this that you that we have not mentioned yet?
Yeah, he plays Byron.
Okay.
His name is Winslow Fegley. And he also starred in a magnificent movie from earlier this year that premiered on Disney Plus called Timmy Failure, Mistakes Were Made.
Really?
It's a glorious movie.
So you're familiar with Winslow.
Winslow is my man.
All right.
You have no idea how pleased I was with his character's directional shift.
Interesting. We're going to talk a lot about Byron because, I mean, I got some opinions on this
first
Byron.
Movie that's we've ever watched that had a Byron star.
I believe so. Gillian Jacobs plays Sarah, the mom of Oliver. People mostly know her for Community or Netflix's Love, but she's got some horror chops. She was in Bad Milo. Excuse me?
The Box.
Oh, she was in The Box as well. I don't know if her role was very significant. She had a brief cameo in Choke. but she was also in an underrated, I believe, Blumhouse horror film called Visions that also stars, and I hate to say this, it's just because I can't remember her name right now, Sacha Baron Cohen's wife.
Oh my God, did you really just do that?
I can't
Isla
remember.
Fisher?
Thank you. And it's probably mostly because I can't say her first name correctly.
It might be Isla Fisher.
She's in that, I believe, and Gillian's in the upcoming Fear Street adaptation that's supposed to come out
3
next
of them.
year.
Did you see that there are 3 announced? I was trying to figure that out.
They're already lining up 3, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Marty, your boy, JGJR, John Gallagher Jr.
Newsroom Forever. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. 10 Cloverfield Lane, Hush, Belko Experiment, Underwater. He's got some genre in him. And I've got to do a Mumblecore shout out to The Heart Machine. A really great small film that I like a lot. Caitlin Shale's in it, too.
He's Jim Harper. That's who he'll always be.
Marty and Sarah aren't getting along very well. They're struggling with their relationship. He's sleeping on the couch, pretending that he lives at the home where Oliver lives. He's got his own little apartment. They're just not doing well.
But he doesn't, so I'm fairly judgy about fathers in movies.
Sure.
And I actually didn't think he was that bad. He was not understanding the stress that Sarah was under with trying to help Oliver.
Yeah.
But he wasn't bad.
And there's a lot of guilt I think she's holding on to with Oliver, because Oliver, played by Ozzy Robertson, who he was in A Marriage Story. He came to the project. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but he is a nonverbal autistic boy. The actor is not autistic, which I don't know how I feel 100%
you're gonna get all
about
mad
that.
about now.
I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad. He's a great actor. Oliver, though, she feels a lot of guilt for not bringing him to the doctor sooner when they thought that something might be going on, that he may be neurologically atypical. But
which is, I mean, there is a lot of stress attached to that. That's a very real thing, because in not all, but in many cases, if you can get support for a person early, like very early, then
you can progress more,
dramatically more. Like I've seen situations where you would have no idea now, and it's hard. Obviously they aren't a super wealthy family. I'm sure.
I don't think they ever said what Sarah did for a living, but Marty is a graveyard shift parking lot attendant.
That's like something he does to pick up work. That's like a second job. I can't remember the first job. It was like, I want to say like a cable man or something like that. He had a truck that went with it.
See, I don't know. And what did Sarah do for a job? Did we ever figure that out?
No.
Well, the film opens up with like what seems to be like a 30-second cold open, which I thought was very jarring. Basically showing the monster's view from behind the glass of an iPhone watching SpongeBob.
Well, no. That was that's not true. It switched back and forth. That was part of it, but it was this boy walking around with those gummy hand slap things.
The first sequence where it's like it seemed very, very jarring how quick that happened, and then all of a sudden it shows like the outside of the house, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? Why did we have this like really, really brief scene? I don't know. That's just aesthetically.
Whatever.
Thought it was weird. But then we got Oliver walking around with that sticky hand slapping the walls, which I think could have been jump scares if we had theater sound. I think they were setting us up for some fun there.
Probably.
But I was watching on a laptop, so suddenly, Misunderstood Monsters, a ebook of a children's story, appears on Oliver's phone, which introduces us to the character of Larry, who
Scary
is
Rex. He's a scary dinosaur, but don't be scared of his sharp teeth
or
or his mighty roar.
That's really wrong. That's not what he is. He's a very tall, gangly.
Anybody who's ever seen Clifford will know what I was talking about. It's okay.
Yeah, or you sound crazy. Either way, Larry. He gets made fun of because he's different, and things get more and more haunted as Oliver swipes through the story. Light bulbs flicker on and off. Only one time in this film, right, Kelly? No, wait, it's all the time.
Okay, but here's the thing. I felt like this was a very cool idea because Larry, for Oliver's loneliness, is very similar. Like teenage angsty girls get poltergeists, right?
I mean, if you believe in poltergeists,
Oliver gets a Larry.
Because he's
It's a very similar situation, and I thought it was cool to show. It even hints at it at different points in the movie that like the isolation and the sadness that he's feeling can you imagine how difficult if you can't even communicate that sadness or frustration to somebody else? Oh God, that's just...
Yeah, we're quickly introduced to that when Oliver wakes up and we're given the was that a dream kind of sequence where he turns out nonverbal, autistic, uses a app on a smartphone to communicate.
Right, yeah. But we have a situation. There were a lot of points in the movie where it was very much a question for me whether Larry was an entity that existed by himself or whether he was an entity that essentially Oliver inadvertently willed into existence.
Yeah, it's a manifestation of loneliness. I think that, that's the whole, they straight up say that at the end of the film.
Yeah, but I just thought that even early on when they start presenting, long before that becomes clear, I thought it was really well done. I thought it was.
I'm glad we brought it up right at the top of this review.
Well, because it is an idea that is introduced if you're paying attention early on in the movie.
Yeah, it's the whole commentary that everyone's just looking at screens, no one's paying attention to each other,
right? And it's actually making monsters when we do that. I liked that.
Yes.
I thought that was cool.
That's very interesting, and I don't think it's a huge spoiler. I think it's
I don't think so either.
On the nose, and it doesn't change it doesn't cheapen the film for that to be such a simple concept.
I agree.
There's other things that cheapen the film a little bit.
Oh,
but
no,
I want to talk about.
I like the film.
Ozzy Robertson, like I said, does not have autism, but did a lot of preparation for the film. He shadowed folks on the spectrum. He worked with speech therapists. Also, in an interview I was reading, the director, he auditioned a lot of folks, and some of them were on the spectrum, some weren't, but he chose Ozzy, and I hope we're saying that right. It's A-Z, what is it?
Can we listen to an interview or something to figure it out?
I don't. I'm just gonna A-Z-H-Y. Of course, you're gonna get it with a New Zealand interview. So who knows if they're saying it right?
As a two-hander in a similar fashion to the pairing of Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment in The Sixth Sense, will also feature Ozzy Robertson, who appears at Naked, which was released
as Ozzy.
Ozzy.
I'm fine with Ozzy.
I don't know. I like that lady's accent. I could listen to her longer.
The director did a lot of research. His wife actually worked with people on the spectrum, and they did audition a lot of neurotypically atypical actors, but they went with Ozzy because Steven Spielberg recommended him, and this is an Amblin production. So
why did Spielberg recommend him? What's Spielberg's connection with him? That's interesting.
I don't know. I before this, he was in A Marriage Story, so maybe he saw him in A Marriage Story and thought that kid freaking rips. But
he did a phenomenal job, and I would just like to say, I realize there has been some controversy about this, but good God, when Leo was in What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
All right. I mean, there are examples of films where people with autism are represented. I mean, what's the show Straight Up Atypical with that horror guy who's also in the black metal and grindcore bands?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about now.
Keir Gilchrist. Yeah, he plays a gentleman with autism as well. So I don't know where I stand on this. I think that if you do it with care and research and the blessings of the community, there's nothing wrong with it.
You mean like exactly how they did it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
I guess so. But yeah, the SpongeBob stuff is also apparently it's very popular in the autism community.
Yes,
so that's another
100%.
detail. People really relate to SpongeBob and his positive attitude.
Well, and Patrick's especially.
So first Aubrey Plaza in Child's Play, now Gillian. All my crushes are now hot moms.
Oh, I didn't know that she was one of your crushes. I do like her. I think she's real good.
Huge fan of Netflix's Love. I thought that first season was incredible.
I don't think I've seen it, have I?
I don't think so. You might like it. Is
it sad?
No, it's funny and cute. In class, Oliver, not great at multiplying 3 numbers, but his dickhead classmate is giving Byron's a bad name, Kelly.
Well, at the beginning he is.
I don't like this guy. He's like a future
I didn't like him either. It was very unsettling
type.
because I've probably watched Timmy Failure 10 times.
I don't know what that is.
It's really good.
All right.
After watching it as many times as I've watched it, he does not play a bad guy in that movie.
Well, we got a couple bad little shithead kids. We got Byron. We got no one. Did they ever say his name? I wrote down Howard because it's written on the strap of his backpack.
Oh, interesting. You did better than I did because I never heard his name, and I thought it was weird that we weren't getting his name.
Yeah, well, Howard led. They told Oliver to go into this field, and then they bullied him and threw his phone away.
It was awful.
Yeah, Oliver calls Byron ugly and kicks dirt on Oliver and asks, who's ugly now, as if dirt changes the way you look. I don't really understand how that works. So bad burn, Byron. Thanks for repping us bad. Next scene, though, we move on. We got the speech therapist, who I don't really understand this character too terribly well.
Well, speech therapists are a huge role for a lot of, especially a nonverbal autistic child.
I agree, but I feel like her guidance wasn't necessarily significant enough to make me be like, oh, I should respect and listen carefully to the guidance of this person. I just didn't think that this character was very well written.
The nuances that I picked up on there were like, it was clear that the mom was getting some judgment from this woman too. And the mom was trying real damn hard.
Oh, she was.
And I think between getting some judgment there and clearly her husband was not as supportive as he could have been, it makes for significant stress. And I think the addition of the speech therapist made it clear that this mom was getting it from all directions.
Sure. Well, speaking of the relationship with the dad, I think it is very interesting, especially with children who have issues. There seems to be this resentment when there's like the fun parent and then the parent who
that's not just children when there are challenges. That's just always.
Always? There's like a fun parent?
Because it's very hard for there to be a 100% equal balance between the person who's the disciplinarian and the person who's the fun one. And it almost... it falls into one person's camp or the other, and that is a huge challenge with parenting.
I bet. I mean, there's ice cream night parent, and then there's you got to finish your broccoli parent.
Yeah.
And it can be amplified when you have even more of a challenge, I suppose. But yeah, Marty, like we said, works late as this parking lot attendant. He's doing his best. He's working hard as well. And his job actually reminds me of a great doc that came out a couple of years ago. I guess we're going to enter the video store again real quick, right before they close. I loved that. That was my favorite. People dropping off movies. Yeah. This documentary called The Parking Lot Movie about a singular parking lot in Charlottesville, Virginia. The film follows a select group of parking lot attendants and their strange rite of passage. The eccentric brotherhood of attendants consists of grad students, overeducated philosophers, surly artists, middle-aged slackers, and others. I thought it was very interesting. So,
okay,
check that out. But in the parking lot, Marty's there, and the door suddenly rips open, lights flicker again, and while Marty's trying to fix the flicker, garbage blowing in the wind outside gets affixed to this invisible presence. Larry, and I thought that was actually kind of a cool scare. I dug that. That was fun. We've had a lot of invisible antagonists this year. Mostly the Invisible Man, I suppose. What else was there? Feels like there was more. But
those are the two that are coming to my mind. I'm not saying there aren't more. I'm just saying that I don't remember anymore, and I apologize.
I guess Z we could consider an invisible antagonist.
Yeah, that's a good point. God,
I don't know. Yeah, it was a fun movie. I just thought that was a cool scare. It's hard to find a new invisible scare, and that was a good one. Right?
Yes, I was waiting for you to rip it apart because I feel like that's what you're trying to do here. I thought it was great.
No, I'm going to have a balanced review. I'm not just going to rip and shit.
That's what Oliver does.
That's true. It's just rip stuff and shit. Sometimes he pees. I don't know. After he fixes the lights, he digs through the lost and found and steals a tablet for his son to replace the phone that got thrown in the field by the bullies led by Byron.
Yeah, but we find out Byron had his reasons. I mean,
well,
it was still shitty, but
I don't know. It's with this tablet we find one more scare. I don't want to move too far forward to the little boy with my name. The try it with a friend filter scare, which reminded me a lot of the stuff that we saw in the film Host from earlier this year.
Honestly, though, like it was brand new in Host. That was the first time we'd seen it. And we talked about how cool it was.
Oh, I'm not.
In all fairness, this was equally new.
Oh no, I'm not trashing at all. I think it was very cool. I think Host did it better, but that has nothing.
The other
to do
thing
with my
I liked was the distance measure thing.
Yes, great scare, and it's like a contractor's measuring laser scare,
which is funny because if anybody remembers me bitching and moaning about our home appraisal this summer, that's the only other time I've seen one of those close.
Oh, you've never seen one of those measuring lasers?
No,
you're
that
no
guy
Bob
was
Vila.
using it, and clearly he was real stupid because he wasn't able to use it properly. But had we,
you guys just have too many mirrors, huh?
I mean,
I don't know what would it do if you shot that in a mirror. That would be interesting.
It would pick up on the surface of the mirror. So however far away the mirror was, it would say that's how far away it was.
I guess that's true.
Like, that was a really cool device, I thought.
Well, my only critique is with the device that's being used to communicate for Oliver, this little app that talks for him.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Larry's going to use that right back at him, which reminded me a lot of Z, which is kind of unfortunate because I think Z did it a lot better with a little bit more suspense, built bigger scares when Z was talking as opposed to Larry talking through the tablet. Saying stuff like, your parents want you to be normal, I want to be your friend, which is playing off of this isolation, loneliness, feeling different.
Yeah.
So, Mom is trying hard, like you said, and she arranges a sleepover. This is weird.
The friends just show up
with Byron and the other boys. Which, I mean, I get it that Byron has this backstory with Oliver, but she's totally clueless about the relationship that he has with these boys. Like,
yes, very much so.
And there's no pushback about that. It just seemed kind of an odd, forced moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there wasn't going to be pushback because the mom felt like this was part of what she needed to be doing to help her son. And so it really didn't matter what Jennifer would have shown up with. The kids were spending the night because the mom needed to help Oliver get some exposure to other humans.
Yeah, because the attachment with other people would push him to maybe move forward in his becoming more verbal.
Yeah.
And another thing this scene really pointed out, which is a part of autism, is stimming. Did you know anything about stimming before this?
I didn't know that that's what it was called. I knew about it, but I had never known that that was the name for it, which was helpful for me.
Self-calming stimulation. In this case, Oliver's rubbing his fingers together to calm himself down. Do you want to talk about this night with the boys?
Okay, so this night with the boys I thought was super, super cool. It reminded me of the TV show that I've been telling everybody to watch, Evil, because the girls in that show get this VR headset and there's this stuff that's happening in their house that they can only see through the VR headset. Like, they can't see it in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much what's happening with the creepy iPad.
Yeah. What they're doing is they're flipping through the story, and as the story progresses, this ebook, the lights continue to flicker and things get more and more haunted as the story goes on, and they're flipping between the book and the camera on a tablet. What do they see through the camera? It's Larry. Friggin' Larry's just over there in the corner of the kitchen.
I mean, and Larry's pretty creepy looking too. Like, we need to be clear that he is a very spooky looking thing.
A tall, spindly, gray, pale. I don't want to say negative things about him because then he'll show up in my sleep. Don't want that. I don't know. Cool scares, though, because Byron decides to be a brave little boy and stand in the corner of the kitchen and be like, there's no Larry here. And then all of a sudden, everything in the kitchen flies towards him and he gets pinned to the wall with a table. And guess what? The boys' parents are freaking ticked when they get a phone call from their kids in the middle of the night. And I don't blame them.
Yeah. Well, because they think that something pretty horrific has happened, and we find out that there's actually a history that would lead them to believe that, in addition to the situation at hand.
Well, pretty horrific. Come on now. They're just saying Oliver punched Byron once in the past, and
yeah, but it clearly traumatized Byron.
Maybe.
You think not?
I don't think so. I think
no?
I think we talk about that a little bit later.
Yes, we do. But I think, yeah, fair enough. Okay.
I think the parents are just not communicating with their kids here, but we probably won't end up talking about that. But this is, I think this is where the film kind of turns for me.
Positive or negative?
Well, you tell me. Sarah is cleaning up the mess, and she finds the story, reads it a bit. The flickers happen. She experiences a little Larry for herself, which I think, one, sounded a little bit more sexual than I intended. But yeah, she yeah, definitely. I am so sorry. But Larry basically reveals his plan to her that she wants to take Oliver back to his world. She's a full Larry believer at this point. We are 45 minutes into this film, and there are 55 minutes left. So we have...
And you did not like that?
I think it's weird that we have a believing parent at less than halfway through the film. Where do we go with this? And have we seen too much of Larry? What do you think about that?
I mean, I always feel like we see too much. I would almost always rather see significantly less.
Show me less Larry. I did
want less Larry. I'll give you that, Byron. I will give you that.
Well, I'll give you something. I think the CG was pretty good on this thing. I think Larry looks good, but I think we could have done with less Larry. But also, I'm not sure if they did this. This would have made a great promotional app. Pull up a camera and you see Larry in CG or VR somewhere in your house. That would have been sick.
Yeah. Agreed.
So Byron's nonverbal now. Not me. I'm talking all the time.
Yeah, no joke.
I'm sorry. I'm very prepared with this episode.
No, it's good. I think you're being a little harsh on it, but that's okay.
No, I'm saying nice things too. I just said like a very nice thing. I said the CG is good. When do I ever do that?
Okay, that's fair. That is true.
Thank
you
you.
don't really do that very often. Okay.
Marty takes Oliver to work with him, and he reads the damn screen. Why is everyone reading this fucking book? Why are we still reading the book?
It's like, it's super...
No!
I don't know. It's got a...
The cover's not even that interesting.
People are fascinated by it.
The cover sucks. Let's be real.
Okay.
But it is a cool tension builder because they're in this booth and the lights are flickering. And then this is the scene where he goes outside and uses that contractor's laser to measure the distance. And
he had that laser because he has some kind of job that I'm sticking with cable man.
Maybe it could be a cable man, could be some sort of contractor. I really don't recall. If he was a contractor, I doubt he would need this second job. I don't know. But and then okay, go ahead. We get a sticky hand call back where Oliver sticks the sticky hand right on the chest of Larry, which I thought was pretty fun.
I loved that. Those sticky hands. Got to bring them back.
And then we have this kind of quick found footage moment when Marty is using the tablet to try to find Larry and then turns around and sees him. Larry's dangling Oliver up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I love any sort of...
He can't talk. God. Like, those are the moments that I thought were super scary.
Well, why didn't he just kick him in the back? I didn't understand that.
He was swinging his legs.
I think he could have swung them. They're in a tiny little booth. I'm just saying. I think whatever. I'm gonna suspend my disbelief.
Sure.
So now Marty believes too. We have 2 full-grown adults who believe in this, and we have 35 minutes left in this film. How does it keep going?
I don't understand why you have such a problem with this.
I just think it's weird because this is like something that should kick into third act, and we still have 35 minutes left in the film. Structurally, it doesn't make as much sense as I would like it to, but they decide to break the tablet and see if that does anything. And this is just a weird scene where Oliver is wearing swimming goggles for no reason. I understand it's to protect his eyes, but like, this isn't the character. This is not the character that we've developed in this film so far.
Okay, I totally disagree with that.
This overly cautious, eccentric little kid, I just didn't understand that. I'm sorry.
Maybe you just don't know enough people with autism.
I don't. I probably don't know enough people with autism. But yeah, we return to the speech therapist who, this is the solution to Sarah knowing about Larry, this is why I lost my credibility with the speech therapist. She starts talking to Sarah about physical empaths, saying that seeing his imagination is something that they could experience because they love him enough, which I don't believe that is a good enough excuse to explain poltergeist activity. I don't think that makes any sense.
What's she gonna do? Believe in poltergeists?
This is a horror film, I guess. I don't know what I'm asking people
to do.
She's
a speech therapist. She's got to be a skeptic. That's her role in the movie.
Why would she try to give a logical excuse to Sarah? Why wouldn't she say, that's fucking weird, I should probably call Child Protective Services on you?
Because physical empaths are a thing.
Yeah, but not like this. This is someone who truly believes that something is being manifested from an ebook.
Well,
are you searching for physical empaths right now?
Maybe.
I hear you over there doing it. I don't know. They get rid of all the screens, and the speech therapist is upset because there's no longer a way for Oliver to communicate. So that's another reason to call CPS. I don't know. Like, this is the moment that you've been waiting for the whole time. This is Byron's redemption.
All right,
Byron,
let's hear it.
No, not me. Not my redemption.
Oh.
Shithead Byron's redemption.
Oh, yeah. So it turns out that he isn't a bad guy because he was just lashing out because it was his understanding that Oliver didn't want to be friends with him anymore because that's what Oliver's mom had told his mom. There we are with the situation that has caused all of this problem to begin with. And I think that's what's really interesting about this. And I think that's what leads to the resolution of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's because the mother screwed up. She doesn't know how to navigate the situation with her son. And she thought this was a safer way to go than to put him into a situation where he creates conflict again. Obviously, it was a bad choice.
He became overwhelmed and socked Byron in the face, but it wasn't even that bad.
Well, yeah, and for the first time, we figure out that Byron didn't think it was that bad.
No.
Like, for most of the movie, we've believed that, oh, God, poor Byron.
I never
certainly
felt like poor
Byron.
Oliver.
But
I've
like,
never
this
wanted
horrible
3
thing
kids
happened.
to die more. I hated the boys, and I still kind of do, even when Byron was supposed to be a good guy. I just thought they sucked.
That's fair.
They were bad boys.
That's fair.
But no, I see what you're saying. I mean, that is kind of the full arc of this. Is it had nothing to do with Oliver.
Exactly.
It had to do with his insecure mother.
Exactly, which is why... Dun.
No. I think we're going to pause here. I think we're not going to continue on through the end.
Okay, fine.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about? I mean, probably the most violent scene when Marty's at work, but I don't know. This film, not even very violent.
No, it wasn't that bad.
It's a PG-13er.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was interesting. It wasn't the most incredible horror film of the year by any stretch, but I actually felt like this was honestly a pretty decent portrayal of somebody who is dealing with autism and a family who's dealing with autism at that level and kids.
Sure. Okay.
I guess I have come to expect less out of big theatrical releases. And even though we watched this at home, it was a big theatrical release.
Yeah.
Is the idea. I'm down with it. I liked it. I'm sorry, B.
How much? No, I'm not. Why are you acting like I'm upset?
Because you're making me feel
this?
like I should be ashamed of myself for liking it.
I don't know where you're getting that, but I would love to hear your score.
Good acting. I thought the dialogue was very solid. I thought it was spooky. It had some fun devices. No pun intended. I'm going to give Come Play 6.8 random unexplainable yellow sponges.
Yeah, what was that about?
I don't know. That's the part I got nothing.
I get it. I get it, actually, and I'll tell you in a sec.
Really?
Yeah, I think I just got it. Come Play, it is a theatrical horror that I watched in my office on my laptop. And I gotta say, it felt kind of good to watch something like this again.
Yeah, it did make me feel more like I was at a theater. Yeah.
Did you know, I think the last film that we saw was Black Christmas in December?
No, Invisible Man.
Was that after? Was that January?
Yeah.
At least we ended with a better movie. But it's been almost a year, and this was a welcome feature film for me. I actually had a little bit of fun with it. I do think it was long. I don't think the pacing was exactly what I wanted. I think that some of the characters were a little underdeveloped and were leaned on a little bit too much. But I love Gillian. She's great.
She is great.
John Gallagher Jr. is incredible. Boy killed it. I think he did a great job. A very careful portrayal of autism, a very considerate portrayal of autism that I really appreciated. The CG was good. I just think the story of Larry, it just didn't work for me. This ebook thing, just don't read the book. Just don't read the book. And then
didn't you see how many times they tried that?
Well, then it just doesn't make any sense, because then it's like, well, if you're just forcing people to read the book, then the book doesn't matter. Why didn't they just close their eyes? Could have just closed their eyes. Didn't need to read it.
God, stop it. Stop ruining it, Byron.
Well, I'm sorry. It just... Yeah, had fun with it. It looked great, and it looked great for good reason, because the man behind this film, great Italian cinematographer, Maxine Alexandre, who worked a lot with Alexander Aja, High Tension, Hills Have Eyes remake, Mirrors, Christmas horror film P2, The Crazies remake, The Maniac remake, The Voices, The Other Side of the Door, Annabelle Creation, The Nun, Crawl, and Countdown. He's very good at what he does, and he did an incredible job with this film as well. So, director, I like him. Con Air. writes some pretty good stuff. I have not seen the Doritos commercial, but I imagine it's funny as hell, if it weren't a Super Bowl contest, right?
Yeah, I would imagine.
The sponge.
Explain to me the sponge now.
SpongeBob SquarePants. That's it. SpongeBob SquarePants. It was a yellow sponge.
Fuck. Of course it is.
Of course it was.
God.
I know. It hit me as soon as you said it, which is funny because I'm going to give Come Play 4.9
Whoa.
Pineapples Under the Sea. And those are my thoughts and our thoughts on
that was
Come Play.
brutal. That was really brutal.
It's available now on VOD Premium. I don't know when it's dropping down to normal VOD, but grab your pod, grab your quarantine pod, get them together on the couch, maybe still wear a mask, because who knows if you guys are essential workers, if you're out and about, but watch this thing. And when you do, let me know what you think about it.
I didn't get the sponge. Holy
I know. I know, right? It's pretty wild.
I was so perplexed by it.
Tweet us at Frightday. We've got Instagram at Frightday. Our DMs are open. You can leave a comment below this episode in the show notes at frightday.com. Send us an email, contact@frightday.com. Discord.frightday.com is where we're discussing things now, because I did finally I tricked some Facebook employees to talking to me. They have already deleted my personal page. It is gone. And we have no way. They actually deleted my secondary Facebook account I created to talk about getting my business page reinstated. And then they just deleted that and my business page. So
what did they say?
They just said that they couldn't do anything, and then acted embarrassed to be talking to me. I felt a lot of shame for some reason. So something's on our record that we did. I don't know what it is. But if you like our show and want to help us make it even better, grab something spooky at shop.frightday.com. It is the second spooky season, the dark days. It's the holiday season, I guess you could also call it. And the stockings need to be stuffed. Your friends need gifts this holiday season. We got pins, we got patches, we got t-shirts, we got all kinds of stuff. Glow-in-the-darkables, cassette tapes of the Roswell incident, a Captain Kelly special presentation. Yeah, all kinds of great stuff.
God, I'm pissed now. They said that it wouldn't be deleted yet.
Well, yeah, they said it would be 30 days. I'll try to send another email. I don't know. I tricked them.
I just really want
so maybe they don't like to be
my dead friends and family.
Wouldn't that be great? Especially if they give us a warning. Yeah, and we may be turning in because it is late. And but there's more for you to feast upon if you join the Frightday Society at patreon.com/Frightday. Y'all want another episode each week you're going to love Behind the Screams.
It's great.
We have a lot of fun talking.
Better than Facebook.
Okay.
Damn it.
This week we talked about what would bring us back to theaters. Mm-hmm. And we talked about AMC's cleaning policy, and then we talked a little bit about monoliths. So if you want to hear that, join the Frightday Society. Lots more to hear there. Captain Kelly's Cryptids and Conspiracies bonus episodes, Byron's Serial Corner Deep Cuts, The Writer's Room, Toast to Toast PM with Wine Kelly, and Cinema Autopsy, which, Kelly, we need to line up when we're going to be watching the Mel Gibson future classic, Fat Man.
I don't
AKA
want to.
Red Pill Santa. It's going to be a lot of fun to make you do that. And at the same time, we can read Mel Gibson's Rest records. That would be fun. We can talk about how
fun. I'll give you that.
Anti-Semitism and all kinds of exciting content. Members of the Frightday Society get early access to new products as well as members-only products. And there's a handful of them that I just launched. Some really great stuff. And you get 15% off everything. And if I'm being honest, guys, we may be fueled by Spring Heel Jack coffee, but it's the folks at the Frightday Society that keep our lights on over here. They're the ones that make it possible for us to create this show for you. And if you want to pitch in, if you like what we do here, join the Frightday Society.
Please.
At cult.frightday.com or
we like you.
patreon.com/Frightday. Closer to phase 3 than ever, and that is a bi-weekly broadcast on Twitch, a new show that we're working on. So the sooner we get there, the more you that give during this holiday giving season, the sooner that happens. But most of all, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That's the best way to get us in new ears and up charts. You can do it on Stitcher too. Wherever you get your podcasts, write nice things, give us stars.
All
Kelly.
The stars.
I can never do this detailed outline of a review again. We actually reviewed a horror film. I don't know. It's been a while since we've done that. It's too much. I went
too much.
I went too heavy. You said I would love to be done sooner so I could work on things. So things need to be tight. I write up 10 pages real quick, and now it's 10 o'clock, and you got work to do.
I mean, it's fine. I appreciate. It was a lot of effort. It was very good, Byron. You tried really hard.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Where are you going to be?
At Kelly Frightday on Twitter. You can always email me, kelly@frightday.com.
And I'm at Byron McKoy on Twitter and Instagram, byron@frightday.com. That's my email address. And until next week, where we're going to be getting freaky.
That's just weird.
Sorry, we're going to be watching Freaky. That's what we're doing next week. Until then, I'm Byron.
I'm Kelly.
Stay off screens and stay scared. Great work.
Great job, everybody.
All right, and that's a wrap, everyone. Good work. We got Bill, turn off the lights. We got Randy over there, the best boy grip. Randy's over here in the studio. He's got the cables. He's winding them up. Susan, how do we do? She's our line producer. Did we cover everything? Is everything seem good? Good, great.
Chips. I got chips.
Chips. We got Crafty. You mean? We got Derek. The AD, how's everything look? Good, great, everyone. Cool, that's a wrap. We'll see you next.
That was the fanciest thing that's ever been done.
You've been listening to an Audio Wall original, produced by Byron McKoy. Theme music provided by Cemeteries. For more programs like this, visit audiowall.co.